There we go. Okay. Everybody let me know if y'all can hear me, because I can't tell if my mic is working. Okay. Everybody let me know if y'all can hear me, because I can't tell if my mic is working. Okay, cool. So yeah, for those of you who don't know what I'm doing, so I have this model that I am remodeling from the Halo Wars 2 cut Falcon vehicle, and I'm doing what's called retopology, where I take this high resolution, super detailed high poly model, and I create a low poly model. And the low poly model is what actually goes in the game. Um, so yeah, um, basically the way it works is you have two versions of a model, a high poly and a low poly. The high poly has all these really nice fancy details like bolts and rivets and surface panels and all this other stuff. Um, and this applies to characters and weapons and all that other stuff. You make a really pretty, gorgeous, high detail model that's like sometimes a couple million polygons. And then you create a low poly model. And what you do is you do what's called texture baking, where a certain program will scan the surface of the high poly model and project that down onto what's called a normal map texture. And the normal map texture basically kind of like replicates all of these details into a texture. Um, so that you capture all that detail without having like, the millions of polygons. Um, and so that's what actually goes into the game. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just making a low poly model. Um, would I consider releasing the high poly to the Halo archive? Maybe. Um, I'm not as familiar with the Halo archive and what all it does. Um, uh, like I'm loosely aware of it. Um, but like I think I just need to like kind of, you know, get into that server and just kind of like get a sense of what all it's about. Okay. Also a bit of added context. So the funny thing about this vehicle is this is from the game Halo Wars, which I doubt anybody in the audience doesn't know what Halo Wars is. But if you don't know, um, it was it was an RTS game released back in like 2009 or something by Ensemble Studios, and it was based in the Halo universe, and it had lots of cool vehicles and stuff. And um, this vehicle was actually cut from the game. It was going to be like, a fighter jet. Oh, by the way, like all the pieces are just hidden right now, so that's what the full thing looks like. Um, but yeah, so this vehicle's cut from Halo Wars, and so I got my hands on the actual model, and now I'm making it a playable vehicle for uh, Halo: The Master Chief Collection. Right now, the plan is to put it in Reach because there's already, there's the Saber fighter, which I'm going to use as a template. Um, and so I'm basically going to replace, uh, I'm going to duplicate the Saber tags, and then I'm going to replace the model of the Saber with this guy, and then like tweak it to feel balanced and all that good stuff. See if I can combine the wing section. Yes, the white model over there is the original model, and the reason I'm not using that as my high poly is because the the actual original models from the Halo Wars team are a little janky. They were not meant to be viewed up close, and so there's a lot of like just things that don't quite work for a like polished high poly model. You can see the geometry is really crunchy all over. So I am remaking this whole thing from scratch. Um, and yeah, that's what I'm doing over here. Um, there's still like certain details from the the original high poly that I haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, like I'm basically having to redo this whole model over here, which I have done for the most part, and I just need to go back and like, you know, at this point in terms of high poly, I just need to add like a handful of details and it'll be done. But yeah. And this was the exact same process with the Sparrowhawk model as well. I had the original model, but the original model was like really crunchy. It was not really serviceable for using for texture baking. And so, oh god, what the hell happened here? And so I had to completely remodel that thing from scratch. Oh wow, the heck did I do here? Huh, that's funny. Trying to fix up this hole a bit here. Okay, there we go. So why are there two originals? Oh, that's just so I can like, so that from the side view, I can kind of like peek under here and like reference the details of that. That's just for the side view. I don't want to like move this original around, so I'll just duplicate it, which I probably don't need that second one now. Oh, shit. Okay. Yes, yes, we're doing retopology. We are at that stage. There's still a couple like high poly knickknacks I wanna make, but for now, like I wanna get the ball rolling on the low poly. Yeah, the design is sort of reminiscent of the broadsword, which the broadsword is another vehicle eventually I do want to make, because it's just like it's kind of cool. Like I'm not the hugest fan of the broadsword just because it looks kind of wonky, but but I still want to make it just for the sake of making it. Um, okay. Hmm. So what I did with this wing here is I basically took the high poly version of the wing and I just copied it and took off the subdivision modifier so that I have like a simpler geo to work with. And now I'm just reducing the polygons since I already did the work to model it. Is there a target poly count? Not really. I'm just gonna kind of like play it by ear and like go with what feels right. Um, I don't really set a hard poly count, but like usually the model ends up being at like around 20,000 or so. 20,000, maybe less, maybe more. Depends on the complexity of the model. I definitely shoot for like poly counts that are more reminiscent of like 2010, but like slightly more. Um, just because like I guess I'm used to making models that are slightly more detailed in this day and age, um, but like not quite as detailed as like a modern game asset, right? Because modern game assets have way more uh, leeway with the try counts. Just delete all of that, cap it. There we go. Okay. So yeah, I'm just simplifying. Is this a separate? Oh, it is a separate piece. Okay. So that needs to. Hmm. Hum. Big hmm. Oh, shit. That's not right. Okay. Alright. Cool. Okay, I'm actually gonna detach this whole object again because I need to like do some more cleanup. Okay. Oh, no. There we go. so this wing section, I'm going to clean up this part of the wing, and then because this front flap here is a separate object, I'm going to try booleaning it to the main wing. But first I want to like get rid of all the extra polygons. I'll leave that. Boop, 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 boop. Yes. Mm-hmm. There we go. Alright. So the Cyclops 3D model is finished. I just need somebody to help me get into Reach. It's a little tricky. I haven't made a like fully functioning biped yet. Um, and Reach would be like really tricky to do that. Honestly, like I should be trying to put the Cyclops in like Halo 2 Anniversary, just because the engine is actually set up for it, and like it would work in multiplayer. Um, Whereas in Reach, like vehicle bipeds, I don't think are even a thing, and they definitely won't work in multiplayer. But you know, I want it to be in Reach. I want to see if it's possible. Um, just cause. But yeah, the Cyclops is done. I just like I'm putting a pin in that because I got distracted with this thing, to be honest, and yeah, it's a lot of work. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just do that. All right, cool. All right, now, okay. Well, so I could do it in Halo 4, but it's like the thing is H2A and Halo 4 are practically the same engine, but like H2A is like a more up-to-date version of that engine, and you can do better things and you can get things to look nicer, and so I might as well just put it into H2A to take advantage of like the newer stuff. Um, yeah, it's like it's almost sort of the same thing with like the Halo 3 versus Halo 3 ODST engine. Like they're practically the same engine, but ODST just has like a handful of more features um, that like honestly nobody should be like modding the regular Halo 3 engine anymore. People should be like putting everything into ODST because like if you want a Halo 3 experience but with more bells and whistles, then like ODST is probably the way to go. Unless of course they somehow remove certain features from the ODST engine that I'm not aware of, but I don't think they did. Yeah. Yeah, so like the biped function, I don't know. If I can't get it working in Reach, then yeah, I might put it in H2A or 4 or something. Yeah. Oh my god. What the hell happened there? Hello? Okay. And now we do what's called booleaning, where we just physically merge two objects together. There we go. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Clean that up. There you go. There we go. Yeah. What's the status on releasing my my tags for the Jackrabbit and Sparrowhawk and stuff for each? I don't know. Um, I I kind of have this project that I'm working on in the background where I am working on a Halo Wars themed map, and I kind of want to like really cook on that and make it a more kind of polished experience. And basically, what I want to do is I want to make this map, right? Um, and it's like very Halo Wars themed, and I want to basically make kind of like a little custom campaign for it, or like firefight map for it, and it's gonna be huge, like it's massive, and I just want to like have like a playable Halo Wars base, and eventually you start like getting more and more vehicles from Halo Wars, and you go around the map, taking on different waves of Covenant. Um, and that is where I want to create like the basic playable experience for those vehicles. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of like getting to a point where I feel they're polished enough to release, I don't know. Maybe I should just like well, right now I'm busy with like, finishing this. So like it's probably going to be after I finish this this vehicle, I'll go back and like, really polish up the Jackrabbit, really polish up the Vampire and the Sparrowhawk and make sure they're good to go. But like I just I've been struggling to find time. Um, yeah, that's been the main issue is just like, looking for time to do all this. Yeah, yeah, no, like it's I'll definitely like post a quick video about my progress on that map. But like I've just been so distracted from the this actual vehicle for so long that I just like I really need to get back to this and finish it, retopologize it, at least get the model made in game, and then I can like swing back and like focus on the other stuff. It is a personal project. Nothing I do with regards to modding is official. Like, like nothing. Um, well, I say that, but like, I was talking to some 343 guys, and they saw, or I showed them what I was doing with this particular vehicle, and they're like, "Oh man, if you could get some nice renders, we could add that to like, a blog post maybe." But of course, that's still like, I got to make the thing first. But like, yeah, it's like basically the gist is everything I do with regards to modding, do not consider official anything. I'm doing all of this on my own time, of my own volition, just as a fun side hobby. So yeah. Um, that said, I do try to like make everything as like authentic to the original like version as possible, and I do try to make it like as close to lore and as close to like what it would be in an original playable experience as possible. Like I want it to look, dev made, right? I want everything to look and feel like actual DLC content, not just mods, but yeah, like nothing I do is like official 343 stuff technically. Um, I kind of want to like eventually do some dig site stuff, which like the stuff I do is very dig site adjacent, right? Like it is the same kind of efforts as dig site with regards to like bringing in cut content from like the old like documents or like cut vehicles and stuff. It's very dig site adjacent, but nothing I do like myself has yet been related to dig site work officially. Although I am in that server, and I have mentioned to them, like, hey, anytime you guys need help with models, like cleaning stuff up or fixing stuff, be sure to let me know. Actually, I think there was like a certain Sentinel variant that somebody sent to me. It's like, hey, this model's really messed up. Would you mind helping clean it up? And I'm like, yeah, I bet. When models feel kitbash from other Halos, yeah, well, I mean, like, you gotta like understand. Most people are not professional modelers. Um, like most people are not professional modelers. So I mean, or most modders are not professional modelers, which is so they're just kind of like doing their best. Uh, and yeah, I'm in a very unique position where I am a professional modeler and I can like make all this stuff, but like yeah, um, it just that's kind of the nature of modding. How long have I been modeling? Do I do this for freelance? Oh, I'm a professional 3D modeler in the game industry. This is my career. Um, I have been doing this for like I think 12 years at this point. Um, yeah, I started in like 2011 or something. So like I guess yeah, yeah, 12 years. Um, yeah, been at this for a while. any of the pre-Xbox RTS vehicles I want to make? Abso-freaking-lutely I do. Eventually, I want to take like all the like Macworld demo stuff and just make high poly versions of it, and like um, I'm still it's weird. I do very much want somebody to make like an entire custom campaign just based on like the Macworld 99 demo that's all like third person or whatever. Um, I just want to relive that nostalgia, but I also would totally be down to just like make high poly models of everything with that like late 90s future sci-fi aesthetic, because I'm just like so into it. And yeah, like I'd be so down for that. I also just like I know not everybody agrees with this, but like um the Macworld 99 armor is such a freaking vibe. I love it so much. It looks like it basically looks like motocross gear to me, just like armored. And I'm so into it. I love it. And like, but I just like for whatever reason, I just find myself getting continuously distracted by cool Halo Wars vehicles that I want to make. Like, yes, I want to make the Cougar, I want to make the Grizzly, I want to make the Kodiak, I want to make, you know, the Vulture and the Condor and like all like I want to make so fun thing. I want to make the um the Super Condor, the one from the Halo TV show. Now, like, regardless of how you feel about the Halo TV show, the design of the Super Condor is freaking fire, and um, I have managed to get my hands on the model for it, like the actual model. So I will be probably retopologizing that and remixing that into a playable vehicle too at some point. And I want to give it like a full interior too, like to where you could conceivably walk around in the cargo bay and stuff. The Nightingale, I might eventually get like come around to making that just for the sake of making it. The problem is I don't know how I would implement that into gameplay because I have no clue how one would go about like scripting a vehicle that can heal other vehicles. I'm sure it's possible, but I don't know how to do that. So I'd probably need somebody to help me like with gameplay implementation. Um, and the same thing with the vampire. Technically, the vampire has like a health drain feature, which makes it, the vampire. Fun little quirk there. Um, but I have no clue how to like turn that into a weapon uh, in the game. So if somebody would know how to do that, like I'd be down for some assistance. But yeah. Maybe Rejected will want that for his Extinction project. Dude, like I am tossing him all of my tags for Extinction. Like if you haven't noticed, he's got my Sparrowhawk, he's got the Vampire, which is not my Vampire by the way. Like I need to clarify. I did not make that model. It was a very talented modder by the name of Chow on the Halo Mods Discord. Um, and I just need to clarify so that, due credit is given. All I did was take Chow's model and retexture it a bit for Reach's aesthetic, and then made it a playable vehicle. Um, but yeah, so like whenever I I really really hesitate to call it like my vampire. So yeah, just for the record. The swap out the stasis beam for the focus cannon like the Locust or Scarab. I hmm, I just feel like that would be way too OP. Like like a stasis beam is already pretty freaking powerful, and then you slap it on something that can fly around and like move from side to side and up and down. I don't know, man. Like if the vampire is hyper maneuverable, it can just traverse any axis in 3D space. And so I had to really balance it out by like making it kind of sluggish and kind of slow down and adding some weight to it. And like I also had to like kind of nerf the needle cannon a bit and give it an overheat function, because otherwise it'd just be like, broken. Um, I would really like to somehow create a stasis beam weapon that like obviously does damage to another vehicle, but also like regens your health somehow. I just don't know how I would do that. Have I always used Maya? This is not Maya. This is a tool called 3ds Max. Um, it's also like both Max and Maya are owned by Autodesk, but this is not Maya. I have used Maya, but not for modeling. Maya's pretty much a ubiquitous software in the game industry, uh, but I typically use it simply to like optimize and export models to a game engine. Because like most studios will have custom plugins for Maya that just set up the file to convert into like an FBX and then spits out that FBX to the game engine, and that FBX embeds a lot of different, like features like skinning or like flags or markers or whatever. Um, but yeah, that's what I use Maya for typically in my job. I don't really use Maya on a personal level. Thoughts on modeling any banished vehicles? Yeah, I mean, like, I would love to make some high poly banished stuff eventually. It's just that my ambitions and my desires for like Covenant Halo War stuff right now outweighs the banished stuff because um, it's just like I don't know. There's like I guess I am a little bit more biased towards like the Human Covenant War just because like that feels more classic Halo to me, and I just like there's just like a lot of stuff I'm more familiar with and is a little bit more recognizable with Covenant stuff. I don't know. I'm more motivated to do Covenant stuff. Also because, the Halo Wars 2 assets are already like a lot more polished or a lot more high fidelity than the Halo Wars 1 assets. And so I'm like, okay, like you could take a Halo Wars 2 asset, right, and drop it into like Halo 3, and it would look sort of okay, right? It would look acceptable by most people's standards. However, if you took a Halo's 1 asset and dropped it into Halo 3, it's just not really it's crunchy, right? Like it is crunchy. And so I'm like, okay, I want to like bring this up to a fidelity that's in line with like either uh, game art standards of the time or game art standards that are a little more modern. Yeah, like that's why I was like so motivated to make the Locust, because the Locust was, the model for the Locust was so low poly and the textures were so just just like shrunk that I'm like, okay, we really kind of have a vague idea of what this thing actually looks like just based on this model. Um, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna up res the hell out of this. Yeah. And also, I will also acknowledge I have been very biased towards UNSC vehicles instead of Covenant vehicles, and I know the Covenant needs some love. Um, and yeah, eventually I will get around to like doing more Halo Wars Covenant stuff as well, because I have some of the OG Halo Wars models of the high polys for like cut vehicles. Um, my man, what I really, really want to do is do the Super Scarab. I want to make a playable Super Scarab that's like just colossal. That's like twice or three times as big as a regular Scarab. And like it's going to be so big you could probably land a Pelican on it or something. Halo 3 Rat? Oh dude, somebody's already made a mod for the Halo 3 Rat in Reach. You ride a squirrel and you battle the Halo 3 Rat as like a kaiju. It's pretty awesome. Go check it out. Yeah, y'all remember that Super Scarab, right? That was That was awesome. It was like so big and so scary that the object, like, it wasn't even finished yet. It was like being built. It was in incomplete state, and like you had to take it out before it came fully online, which is like that premise alone is already terrifying. Like, just imagine what it would be like if it was fully armed and operational. What about the Mastodon from Halo Wars 2? What is the Mastodon again? Mastodon. Oh, an APC? Oh yeah, yeah. I totally want to do the Mastodon. That thing looks cool as hell. And like I feel like Halo could use an APC definitely. Oh my god, that thing is huge. Oh my god, that thing's almost as big as the the mammoth. Like maybe half the size or 75%, but I had no idea the Mastodon was that big. I think is the Mastodon a DLC vehicle? Because I don't remember playing that in Halo Wars 2. Holy crap! It it can transport Cyclopses. Oh my god! Yeah, that's gonna be a big boy. Wait, no, the Mastodon is like it's only like twice the size of a warthog. Okay, this is gonna be tricky. I'm gonna have to compromise. So like I'm gonna be real with y'all. So whenever people see the model I made for the Cyclops, they're like, wow, the Cyclops is freaking huge. It's not that big in the game. So, for context, that is the cinematic version of the Halo Wars 2 Cyclops. That's the same Cyclops you saw in the TV spot. That is from Blur Studio. At least the high poly is. And so, um, I am I made the cinematic version of the Cyclops, which is going to be a little bit bigger than the in-game version. Um, and so if the Mastodon scale is related to the Cyclops scale, then the Mastodon is also going to proportionally have to be a bit bigger if we want to like if we want to freaking fit Cyclopses on the side, which, I don't know yet. Maybe. It'd be cool as hell to like implement that, but it's a tall ask. Um, so, but yeah, like with regards to scale, I mean, like I have always maintained that scale Halo's scale period is kind of like you can't you can't rigidly, accept Halo Wars or Halo's scale, like its lore scale, because things just don't work in Halo's scale, Halo's lore scale. Like there are things that literally contradict each other, and when you try to like respect Halo's lore scale and you try to like make things function and fit together, they don't. So I scale things for practicality, not necessarily lore. I try to keep it within the realm of lore. Like I try to keep it within a margin of like, around 5% scale discrepancy. I do try to respect the lore as much as I can, and I will try to make stuff fit. I really, really will. But if stuff don't fit, stuff just don't fit, and it's not going to work for gameplay or even just like physically making things fit in. Like when I was designing that frigate interior, it literally wouldn't fit Pelicans. Like you could not cram Pelicans into the interior. So I just had to scale up the frigate by 2 times, and then everything fit perfectly. Um, so yeah, those are just necessary compromises for like gameplay and stuff. Um, anyway, that was a really freaking wild tangent I just went on. Sorry. There would have to be some super creative liberty taken with the back half of the superscript. Maybe I have seen high resolution renders of the Super Scarab. Like I've seen renders of a high poly model for the Super Scarab that is, I think, in a mostly complete state, and I would be referencing that. So again, I always try to do my best to like respect the original and reference the original concept as much as possible. So like as little creative liberty as possible is what I tend to go by. Like with the Sparrowhawk, I literally had to completely make up the underside of it because the underside did not exist. Because why would it? It's a top-down RTS. So I just did my best, and I'm like, okay, this is conceivably what the underside of this aircraft would look like. Have you had any trouble with scale since the Spartan 3s are way shorter than the Reach Elites, despite both being playable? Um, so no, the Spartan 3s, like, they are marginally shorter than Spartan 2s, but not by that much. They're still bigger than a human, right? So like, the difference between Noble 6 and Master Chief is like maybe like I don't even know if it's even a foot. It's like a couple inches difference. Um, so it's not too bad. Typically, things that fit Chief will fit a Spartan 3 and vice versa. Like Chief barely has to squeeze in slightly more, but it's doable. With regards to elites though, yeah, that's a little different because it really does seem, and I haven't tested this, but it really does seem that like Reach elites are way chunkier than like Halo 2 elites, especially, and maybe Halo 3 elites. I don't know. I haven't tested that, but yeah. The Macedon concept has it smaller than the elephant. Yeah, no, I was looking at like a side render of the Macedon, and it's like it's basically just like 2.5 times the size of the Warthog. About the frigate, I think the hangar where you have all the sabers and hawks doesn't fit. What should go there is something akin to a reactor or engineering area. It's connected to the engines. Which version of the frigate are you referring to? Because I made at this point I've made like multiple versions of the frigate, and the latest one is the one that has like the actual hangar bays having individual like airlocks and stuff. Um, and the engineering is way at the back where the engines are, and like the center of the frigate is kind of more of a vehicle bay and like loading bay, sort of. So yeah, like if you could specify which version you're referring to, um, yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard designing like a practical interior for that frigate, because like I've said this before, but I feel the need to keep reiterating it. I am not an environment artist, so I am like my skills with environment art are like kind of like still developing. I am a character artist. I was trained to make pretty characters, but like I was not really taught how to make uh, practical or good-looking environments. So like I want to make this Halo Wars 2 themed map, but like, and I can make a pretty map, right? Like I can make some decent looking landscapes, but I can't always get it to export and light bake on a technical level. It's tough. Okay. Oh, are you talking about like the center area between the two like actual um hangar ports on the sides? Like, I think you're referring to the place where I parked all the like sabers and hawks in a row. Um, a reactor engineering area that's connected to the engines. Maybe. I feel like the reactor would kind of like be in between the engines towards the rear of the ship, though. Unless there's like some lore specification, which if that's the case, then I'll just go with the lore and put the reactor there. But yeah, like I've explained in the videos, eventually I want to have um, basically the classic Star Wars Battlefront game mode where it's like ship assault and you board the ship and you sabotage it from the inside. I want that with the Halo frigate. And so I will have like an engineering room. I will have like, different stuff you can go in and sabotage. So that information is definitely relevant. The mech from the Halo Legend episode, yeah, that's I think the Mark One Yggdrasil armor. Like that was before Mjolnir. I think it was called Yggdrasil at least. But yeah, that was like the first prototype of Spartan armor. And in Halo Wars 2, Johnson is wearing a version of it. So I can definitely reference that model and make a version of it. So character artist is just characters. Character artists make just characters. So yeah, that would entail both the humans and aliens. My job specifically, like at 343, I mainly just do armor and armor accessories because I mean like that's what the majority of Infinite is. Um, but yeah, I can sculpt aliens and organic stuff and cloth and all that good stuff. And vehicles are turning out to be like I'm really getting into vehicles because it's also just hard surface, which I'm very adept at. And same with weapons. I haven't done as many weapons yet, but I plan to eventually. I did the machete and I did the LMG, and I would love to do more. Actually, the next weapon I want to do is the rotary grenade launcher from Reach concept art. Where do I tend to pull my model references for Halo? Well, I mean, I have connections that can get me the original high polys that Ensemble and Bungie and 343 made. Um, Otherwise, I'll just like if I need there are certain times where like I need to rip a model using Reclaimer, or I'll just use the community or not community tools, the official mod tools. Yes, I am the Hank Hill of 343. I make armor and armor accessories. I'll tell you what, which is even funnier because I am based out of Texas. World War II grenade launcher and Reach. I am confused. Are you referring to like the actual grenade launcher like currently in Reach? Because like there were no standalone grenade launchers in World War II. I think you're referring to the bloop gun from the Vietnam War. Its nickname was like the Thumper or something. I don't remember the actual designation of it. Vietnam grenade launcher. But yeah, I think I know what you're saying. The M79 grenade launcher. That's what it is. But yeah, the breech loader. Um, yeah, no, there's a concept art of like in Reach they were going to have a rotary grenade launcher, similar to the Milcore um, in Reach, which is like, I really love that design and idea. I'm going to have to really balance it though, like because the grenade launcher is already pretty freaking OP, and imagine if it had like a rotary drum magazine. So yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have it not have EMP, and I'm gonna give it like half the damage of a normal grenade. So you can rapid fire it, um, or it has like a longer space between shots. But yeah, it's not necessarily that it needs to be in the sandbox, right? Because like for balancing, it's kind of tricky. But it's just that I like to make things from concept art simply because I want them to exist. Oh yeah, I'm definitely modeling the Draugr at some point. I am abso-freaking-lutely modeling the Draugr, which is like I know that Rejected Shotgun is modeling his Draugr, um, uh, and his Draugr, we're kind of gonna do two separate things. So like I am gonna make my Draugr actually freaking gigantic. Like the Draugr I make will be the size of an entire map. Because I'm basing it on the concept art, where the concept art makes it seem like the size of a freaking city. Um, and his Draugr is based on the actual like cut content model, where they had it like sort of blocked out. Um, so he's gonna do his, and I'm gonna do mine, and they're kind of gonna be pretty different in terms of gameplay. But yeah, like if I make a Draugr and I put it into like a custom campaign or firefight map or something, like the entire map in game mode will be specifically about the Draugr and taking it out. It's like it's like basically a Death Star hovercraft, basically. Have I considered making certain Halo 4 and 5 weapons in Reach art style, like the railgun or sticky det? Um, I have thought about the railgun, because I do, in fact, love the railgun. That's, like, regardless of how you feel about 4, there are certain additions to the sandbox that I think are really good, and the railgun is definitely one of them. The railgun is tricky, though, because functionally, it's a lot like the stanchion, sort of. Um, and like, and I'm really conflicted because I want to make eventually my own version of the stanchion. Um, I know that in Rejected's Huge Grass mod, he made the stanchion charge up, which effectively just makes it the railgun with more zoom. Um, So I don't know how I'm gonna tackle that. I'm gonna like basically make my stanchion the most lore accurate stanchion, where like I'll try to do research about like how it functions, its fire rate, and all that good stuff. And I'll just like make it very lore based. And the railgun is really cool, but it's like if I'm gonna make a stanchion, I don't know if I'm gonna be making the railgun because they might just like be so redundant. I'm gonna take a small break. Gotta use the restroom. I'll come back in just a second. Okay, I am back. Okay. Hmm. Have I ever considered doing my version of the Oryx or the Poltergeist from Operation Trebuchet? I don't know what those look like. Hang on. Wait, isn't Operation Trebuchet? Somebody remind me. I from the back of my head, I feel like Operation Trebuchet is either um, one of the biggest like battles involving Spartans in the Halo lore, or it's the name of the Arma mod. I can't remember which. Yeah, it's the Arma mod. Okay, cool. Um, Poltergeist. The Halo Poltergeist. What is the Halo Poltergeist? I don't know. I don't know what that is or what it looks like. It's an anti-insurrectionist op. I could have swore though that like Operation Trebuchet was like a couple hundred Spartans dropped onto like a Covenant-controlled planet to take out their manufacturing or something. Um, I thought that was like from some novel or something, but huh. Okay. Hmm. It looks like a Wraith, but a tank gun on it. Okay, when you say tank gun, are you talking about like the Scorpion tank, or are you talking about like it's a plasma cannon? Okay. Huh. Well, that's kind of interesting. Um, I don't know. I mean, like, I definitely could do that. I could, like, just basically make a plasma cannon that fits the Wraith's, like, aesthetic and just make a variant of the Wraith. Oh, wait. Operation Trebuchet does actually credit me since they're using my M4. My M4? I haven't made an M4. Do you mean my machine gun? The M79, I think it's called? I know that like a number of like Arma mods and like squad mods and stuff like that. Any mod that involves clone trooper, I know that almost all of them are using the clone airborne helmet that I modeled a long time ago. Like every single time I go into like VR chat or like I see a video about like Clone Wars mods, I'm like, hey, there's my helmet. Oh yeah, no, like with regards to like the stuff I model, I give permission to like use the modding stuff. Like go for it. Like the if I put it up on Nexus, if I put it up, free to download, right? Then like I do try to put in the description, hey, feel free to take this and use it for your mods. Like that's kind of the point, right? I would love to proliferate, you know, decent quality models for modding purposes to, like really enhance the immersion and aesthetic and stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm all about. So yeah, they would absolutely have permission, and like I think I might have reached out to them and said, hey, you guys go ahead, take it. Thank you, Diego. I appreciate that. I work pretty hard on this stuff. Um, it's my passion. The Cut Gorgon vehicle. What does that look like again? Halo Wars Gorgon. Oh yeah. Oh wow. This thing. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I would have to heavily redesign it to be like comfortable because that thing. Whew, that's a little funny looking. Um, I could do it. I could definitely do it. Um, I don't know how it would function. Um, yeah. I would have to like really look into what its gameplay uh style is. What I really want to do is the I have the model for this. I want to do the Chimera from Halo Wars, which is like it's kind of like a scarab, but it's like slightly smaller, but it's a flamethrower, like a giant walker flamethrower thing. So I definitely want to do that. I also want to do the Gargoyle from Halo Wars and the Hydra because I have those models, um, and I could like do something really nice with those. Um, but again, I just kind of have to figure out like how they would fit into the gameplay loop. I also like I don't want to like exclusively only do Halo Wars stuff for forever, but it's just like man, Halo Wars just has so many cool vehicles. Yeah, I the whole thank you Elite for your comment. Yeah, I just like obviously I'm a huge Halo fan. Always have been ever since I was you know, a teenager, a little kid. Um, and like it's really cool because, I've always wanted to work on Halo and now I do. But I also just like now we have such awesome tools with the mod tools to be able to basically create all of the fantasies that we had as a kid of like, oh, what if they put this in Halo? What if they put that in Halo? What if they did this or that? Like now we can do that ourselves. Now we can go and create it, and that is just like so exciting to me. Um, because it's blending nostalgia with like fantasy, and it's just it's so fulfilling. Um, it's funny because like I honestly like eventually I should do some like more work related models for my portfolio just for the sake of it, but it's just like I always find myself wanting to do like Halo modding stuff because it's like it does work as portfolio stuff, but it's also just like I get to play it too. I can go have fun with it, you know? It's really rewarding. Oh, okay. I guess okay. I'll make the Gargoyle a Covenant bomber then. I'll do that. Good idea. Thank you for that input. I did not know it was a bomber. I haven't like actually read the wiki on any of the cut like Covenant Halo Wars vehicles, so I'm not really familiar with their characteristics. But yeah, that's good to know. Thank you. And yeah, Rusty Quarters. I saw your comment. I'll be referencing the cut brute wraith if I do decide to do that poltergeist. Man, I was actually planning on doing after the Cyclops, I was planning on doing the Colossus, which I still will do, but I think that after I get this next round of vehicles done, the Falcon, the Cyclops, and polish up the Reach vehicles I have, I think I need to start making the actual Halo Wars bases because it's just like they are the foundation of like a lot of game modes and maps I want to make, and I just like, I think that if I'm thinking of like long-term goals and plans for like these modding efforts, I think having the actual Halo Wars bases is going to be really important as set pieces. So I think I need to like dig into modeling those. And I also, for on that note, I think I'm gonna plan to go with the Halo Wars 1 bases. Eventually, I might make Halo Wars 2 bases as well, but I wanna use the Halo Wars 1 bases because they're more of like a permanent type structure, even though they're obviously not. But they just like they feel like more of a playable environment than the Halo Wars 2 bases, which are basically just like kind of bunkers on stilts. Um, and I absolutely want to have like an intro to like a level or something where the I think it's the Heron, the giant drop ship comes down and like actually drops the base on the ground. I want that to be like a first person perspective thing, and it's gonna be awesome. I really really want to do that. Oh yeah, I'm absolutely going to model the turrets. The turrets will be playable vehicles. You will be able to enter the turrets and, defend the base. That's completely in the plan. Um, I'm also going to model like an underground like for the base and a full like playable interior eventually. So yeah. it's ambitious. It's a lot to chew off, but it's like I think that it's pretty necessary for all the stuff that I'm gonna do to just get the Halo Wars bases made. Because once those are made, it's kind of like I can make a complete feeling level, right? And just add to it over time. Whereas it's like until I have those, it's like I can't really create a centralized experience that feels like a finished level. It's all just kind of like piecemeal, and I'm just dropping tags to different modders to put in their mods. Whereas if I have like Halo Wars bases, I can just drop those into like an environment and be like, you know, really quick, I can put in some AI and say, boom, here's a custom campaign mission. Ernesto, um, would I like to bring Banished into my mods? I touched on this a little bit ago, but eventually yes, but it's for whatever reason I'm just like mainly interested in Halo Wars 1 stuff for the moment, unless like it. So here's how it's kind of playing out. Um, so I am mainly sticking to Halo Wars 1 stuff because the Halo Wars 2 stuff is high fidelity enough to where if you drop it into like Halo 3 or something, it looks like, in terms of art quality, it looks acceptable to most people. Um, but the Halo Wars 1 stuff is like so low poly that like it really needs a remaster more. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Um, Eventually, yeah, I would like to do Banished stuff, but the Banished stuff already looks so good. So I'm focused mainly on Halo Wars 1 stuff. However, there are certain designs of vehicles from Halo Wars 2 that I think are better than Halo Wars 1, like the Cyclops, for example. And like this is just my personal opinion. I think the Halo Wars 2 Cyclops just looks a little cooler than the Halo Wars 1 Cyclops. Um, and so I did that instead of the H1 Cyclops. But like it's kind of like case by case. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really trying to optimize this thing. Like I still give it enough geometry to be pretty, right? Like I don't crunch my models down too much for the sake of optimization. Um, like I want this to look pretty, but I also don't go too crazy. That being said, Halo Reach has some pretty impressive poly counts for a 2010 game. Like that, I remember watching a Vidoc from Bungie way back in the day where they were making a point like, oh yeah, we have like way higher poly budget to work with now, so we're just gonna like saturate detail into like all of our designs. Um, and it really shows because, like, the assault rifle, the DMR, like, the architecture, everything has more geometry than the past Halo games because they could afford it. So, yeah, like, Reach can take it. Halo 3, it's weird. I've run into issues where like I try to export a model in Halo 3 and like Tool will stop me because it's like, hey, that's too many polygons, bro. Like, we're running on we're running on 360 hardware. What do you think you're doing? Um, but yeah, Reach seems to have less of those restrictions in my experience. Ernesto, that's awesome. Thank you, dude. I'm glad that it's inspirational. Yeah, if you want to start, I would definitely start simple. Like, definitely, here's what I think. If you want to dip your toes into 3D modeling and you want to specifically be Halo, um, I would maybe start with some of the Halo CE weapons, or the simplest designs. 1 second. Had to charge my mic. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. But like, personally, if it were me, I would maybe start with some of the Halo CE weapons and try to model one of those because they're the simpler designs, and they typically have simpler shapes. But of course, like if you want to model it, try to make it look like slightly more smooth and modern. But yeah, that's what I would do. Ooh, an HD version of the CE Spectre. That would be cool, honestly. I am not opposed to that idea. I think that's really cool. It's just Reach has the Revenant, which is very Spectre-like, but I'm not opposed. That's kind of a cool idea. I like it. Wait, Halo 2 Anniversary Spectre. Wait, what? What? Halo 2 Anniversary Spectre. Oh, Oh yeah, well, okay, so the Halo 2 Spectre is a different design from the Halo CE Spectre. Um, they they're very similar, but like the Halo CE Spectre is kind of like a cross between a Ghost and a Wraith. And it is, I think, multi-passenger. I think. Yeah, it's multi-passenger. Um, so Well, no, I guess the Halo CE Spectre is literally a Covenant Warthog, which, the Halo H2A Spectre is also. They're both Spectres, but it's a very different model. Um, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like you would model it just for the sake of it existing because it's a cool design. Uh, but yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I like the design of the Halo CE Spectre a lot, so maybe I might do it. The Revenant was a poor man's Spectre. The Revenant was honestly, the Revenant was the it's always just looked like a car to me. The Revenant looks like a hot rod. The Revenant looks like a hot rod to like as compared to like an SUV, if that makes any sense. Yeah. It's just like whenever I look at the Revenant, I think, wow, that is basically just a convertible two-seater sports car. I wish they'd straighten up the Halo source engines. Well, the problem is the more you mess with a game engine, the higher risk there is of breaking it. There are very very good reasons that they don't like start fussing around with code and like adding and implementing all these like new features. As cool as they would be, like these game engines are like, almost 20 years old at this point, and you know, it was a lot of work just to get them to work on PC as well as they did. And I want cool stuff, right? Like I want, you know, drivable bipeds in Reach. I want, scarabs to sync in multiplayer. I want, giant tags to be, you know, cleaned up and like be able to not be able to collide with geometry. I want all these features, right? I'm completely with you there. However, as somebody who works in the game industry, I am painfully aware of how much risk that incurs, and you do not want to risk more, more bugs, more breakages if there's like if you don't need to. Which right now, MCC is in a pretty dang good state. It's completely playable. It's a pretty refined, polished experience for the most part. There's like still a handful of very minor bugs. Like the biggest bug I can think of in MCC right now is just the bloom in Reach is like a little overblown. Um, and like I would like to see that fixed, but yeah, it's just like if it ain't completely broke, don't fix it. And that's just the way it is. Um, yeah, unfortunately. Scarabs do sync into Halo 3 multiplayer. That is true. But it's like my personal desires is that kind of like what I think Ernesto was saying. Like my personal desire is that everything works in every engine. Like every engine has, vehicle bipeds and scarab syncing and all this other good stuff. Like I would want that for every because like, different people want to mod and play the different Halo games and not be like, okay, well, we got to go to Halo 3 for, multiplayer scarabs. We got to go to Halo 4 for vehicle bipeds. Obviously, that is the desire. It's just a matter of, it's so much work to bring that stuff online, and it's just so incredibly risky to even start to work on it. But no, I'm with you in terms of sentiment. Like I am 100% on your side. I want that stuff just as much as you do. It'd be so freaking cool. which one would I call the ultimate Halo engine out of the ones so far without taking the associated games gameplay into account in terms of rendering functionality? Um, Halo 2 Anniversary probably because it's the latest. It is the most recent Halo engine in the MCC. Like it was like I think 2014 or something that that came out, so it's going to have like a lot of modern game features. Um, Obviously that said, it is its own game engine and it might like lack certain features that were in other Halo games previously. And so it's always a toss up. Different game engines are going to add or remove certain features that are necessary to the overall scope of that particular game project, right? So like there isn't a single Halo engine that has everything, right? Like certain engines have assassinations, but they don't have like certain things syncing in multiplayer, and so it's always a toss up. But in terms of like modern features, like in like the most advanced features, H2A is probably, and like I'm just going based off of what other people have told me, by the way. I have not personally played with H2A yet. I want to because I hear of all these features, but yeah, like that's the most technically advanced, quote unquote, Halo engine. Um, yeah, so it's like there's a reason Green Knight is like so keen on modding it because you can like theoretically you really can do some pretty awesome stuff in it. And so like from what I understand, he's pretty much the only person spearheading that assault. So go give him some love and appreciation. Um, because like it, once he does make something, it's probably going to be pretty crazy. Um, and yeah, and I know people say like, yeah, but nobody plays H2A. That doesn't matter. People can download H2A just for like the one experience that's going to be like absolutely incredible. If you build it, they will come. And it's like, I am currently building in Reach because, yeah, sort of according to that same logic, a lot of people play Reach, and so that's what they're familiar with. But like, in terms of like, oh, H2A isn't this other game that I play, you can tweak H2A to be that other game. Um, like, it's just a tool like any other. Halo 4 is good to mod. Well, that's good to hear. I don't know personally. I haven't touched it yet. Again, I definitely want to because yeah, I wanna try it. I wanna test it out and see like what is Halo 4 is obviously going to have more advanced features that the others don't. Um, so yeah, I definitely wanna. I also, and this is little controversial, but in terms of the sandbox and like base gunplay, I think Halo 4 might be my favorite one out of all of them. Just like all of the like sandbox and mechanical tweaks I would make to Halo Reach are in Halo 4. And whenever I play Halo 4, regardless of how you feel about the story or like, this or that, whenever I play Halo 4, the base gunplay just feels the best to me personally. Um, and because it's like Reach's gunplay is good, but it's also a little controversial for understandable reasons. But like Halo 4 kind of took a lot of those mechanics and smoothed them back out to be like a little bit more forgiving, and I really appreciate that because when I play Halo, um, I tend to just like want to sit back and have fun and have a casual experience. Um, I am definitely not a sweaty Halo player. I just like most of my time in Halo is spent in campaign or firefight, just because like I just want to relax. But yeah, Elite. Yeah, well the thing about Halo 2 Anniversary's like customization is, it's supposed to basically just be Halo 2's customization with like slightly more options, right? And like, again, most people don't play Halo 2 Anniversary, so there's not really an incentive to develop the customization much beyond that, which sucks. But like, yeah, like that's just the way it is. Like, there's not a whole lot of people on H2A, so why would they spend the time and effort to flesh it out? I definitely would like to, add to the customization, but that's just the way it is. Yes, Unseen, you are completely right. Crisp is a absolute godsend. Like like modding Reach was actually painful before his tool came along. Um, and he has made it so much better and easier. And I can't thank him enough for that. Like, everybody just give Crisp all the love he deserves. He's been a complete champion in all of this. Because like I like Reach, and that's where I want to do most of my modding, and he has like made it um, just like such a breeze, and he continues to do so. Like, I'm so excited for like the next version of Foundation or Foundry, whichever it is. It's either Foundry or Foundation. His tool is called. Um, but like, he's constantly adding to it, and he's constantly adding features that are just like making everything so easy. And on that note, General, I think, just came out with a tool that, like, it's like the Halo STL, or not STL, the Halo JMS editor, which that tool now also has a bunch of features that like make cleaning up STLs and organizing and everything way easier. And I'm gonna definitely dig into that when I get some time, because like, um, it can clean up, vertex groups and skin weights and all this other stuff that's just like a tedious pain in the butt if you're just like doing it like all manually. Oh wait, Unseen Halo. Hang on a second. You've been working in Halo 4? Hang on. Let me go check out your stuff. Unseen Halo. Ooh, watcher replacement test? Oh, wait. Unseen Halo, you changed your YouTube icon, I think. I think your icon used to be the um mendicant bias or something. Um and yeah, no, I've watched your stuff a lot. Oh, this is awesome. Dang. Dude, Unseen, you have been making some good progress on this Halo 4 mod. You got Chief looking nice. Holy crud. So, I really kind of want to ask you about that, because I've heard that like a lot of people are having trouble getting the Halo 4 shaders to look good, because they're just completely different from the previous shaders. So like, I'm kind of curious. Have you been able to work with them okay? Have you been able to get like a good understanding of how they function? God dang, this looks great, by the way. Like, I definitely want to play um um your Halo 4 mod when it's like fully out. That looks awesome. But yeah, like, I was talking to Green, and like he was saying how like Halo 4's in H2A's shaders, um you have to like code them yourself or something. And I'm like, oh god, that sounds awful. Um, and he says it's a huge pain in the butt. So I'm kind of curious if you've experienced that, or if it's like, not as painful. You've experienced that, or if it's like, not as painful. You had to import all of H2A's material code? What does that even mean? I so like as an artist, I deal with materials and shaders a lot, but like I have not had a career experience where I had to like mess with the actual code of the shaders. So like when people say you have to like hand code the shaders in Halo 4 and H2A, I'm like, man, what does that even look like? What does that mean? That's scary. I um I have zero coding knowledge base whatsoever, and so like the most I can do is copy and paste scripts. But yeah, that does sound very intimidating. Okay. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. There are some good materials in Halo 4 that like I'd be like, yeah, I could take that and use it. Um, like I know Green was getting really frustrated, and like I really feel like if I got in there and I dug around, I'd be able to like, oh, I recognize that. That's a metalness roughness map or like whatever. I could probably figure it out. Maybe. Watch as I like dip my toes into Halo 4 and just get completely lost. Famous last words. Green is also having a hard time because Halo 4's shaders are just like in lighting system is so fundamentally different that like they probably use a different normal calculation method. So like all of the normal maps break when he tries to port them from Reach, and he, he's aware of normal maps, but like he's not like a career 3D artist. So it's like he is struggling to get the normal maps optimized for that engine, um, which is I definitely empathize with because it's like the as an artist, the thing I hate most of all in this world is like normal bruising and and like broken smoothing groups and stuff, and just normal maps not working. And in that case, most of the time, there's really nothing you can do other than rebake the normal map from the source files, which we don't really have access to and would be a pain in the butt to like rebake normal maps for every asset. just from a purely aesthetic and artistic standpoint, H2A I have opinions about because um, like the model quality is good, right? And a lot of it is just like recycled reach asset. However, um, just like what I talked about with the normal bruising, it's a different engine, and so the normal maps just look broken in many instances. And the thing that bothers me the most is the fact that like the black metal on like all of the human weapons is just way too dark and way too shiny, like just too much. And like it's just a personal art nitpick that bothers me. Um, like it is glossy pitch black, and it's like, well, you know, even though it's black, it's still, it's still going to like reflect light from the environment a little bit. And any military weapon is not going to be gloss. Like specifically military weapons are designed to be flat, to not reflect light. You don't want your military guns to be shiny. At least modern military firearms. Um, and that's like again total personal art nitpick, but yeah, if I were to like go into H2A and like touch up the textures, I would make them a little bit more consistent with the other games in terms of like material properties. I think that that whole job was mainly certain affinity too, um, as far as like porting the assets, which I've worked at. I've worked at certain affinity briefly. I didn't get to work on Halo when I was there, but yeah, cool studio, cool people. Yeah, normal maps, dude. And like I'll say this as an artist, if you are looking to get into video game art and 3D modeling, I will tell you this. Normal maps are the most important textures because everything else is essentially built off of the normal maps. At least these days. Um, because like curvature is calculated from normals, ambient occlusion is calculated from normals, and the normal map uh, like if a normal map is broken, well then the entire model looks just like wrong and like buggy. Um, so it's important to get a very clean, smooth normal map um, if you want your asset to look good. And like to be fair, most modders only have a very loose understanding of normal maps, um, and are aware of their existence, but don't know how they specifically operate, and they don't know things like tangent space versus world space, or like smoothing groups and hard edges, or UV seams, and how normal maps interact with all of those, and they're not aware of like the different triangulation methods that were used when the normal map was baked. You know, so you get a lot of times where like modders will port assets from one engine to another, and like they either don't know or they can't really do anything to fix the normal maps. So you get broken normals a lot. Oh, that's a really good tip, Unseen. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ernesto, I think the reason they didn't use campaign assets is because they weren't given access to them. I think that's just my personal theory. I don't know that for a fact, but like because certain affinity handled the multiplayer, and I think 343 themselves handled the campaign. 343 was given access to like the actual like cinematic models from the Blur Studio cinematics that they used for Halo Wars. Um, so like the Halo 2 anniversary Marines are are based off of the models from the Halo Wars cinematics. Um, and the 343, I think, modeled like a custom campaign SMG for H2A. And I don't think Certain Affinity was given that because they're just like, okay, we'll make our own SMG based off of like the original Halo 2 design because they have artists there that can do stuff like that. So yeah, it was just like they were two different studios working on different aspects of H2A. And so that's why there's like, they didn't have like a ton of shared assets between the studios. Which I say that, but like, you know, both H2A campaign and H2A multiplayer are using the Halo Reach sniper. So I think like they were given access to like the Reach weapons. Everybody has access to the Reach weapons because like the Reach assets are detailed enough that they're future proof. So like they get reused for every game, every project, and the Reach assets are basically the canon appearance of most of the weapons now. But yeah. Rusty Quarters. Yeah, I'm not even sure if Halo CE supports normal maps. I think Halo CE was only using bump maps because I think normal maps hadn't even been like introduced industry wide yet at that point. Um, because like yeah, Halo 2 did use normal maps, I think, but they were also like still it was kind of the transitionary era where like everybody was still using bump maps. And for those who don't know, for context, a normal map is essentially um, a purple colorized texture that bends light when it interacts with the surface of a 3D model. The texture will basically just kind of like um, distort light to project an illusion of extra detail like bolts and rivets and vents and stuff like that when it's just texture detail. And a bump map does basically the same thing. It's just less advanced, so you can't get that like you can't get refined surfaces, and the light doesn't bend in as much of a pristine way. Ernesto, yeah, that is definitely a practice. So like, especially if you have, a franchise like Halo, they absolutely have a repository of all the source files, and that's what I have access to, and that's how I was able to get my hands on the Blur Cinematic Cyclops and, the Halo Wars, Condor and like all of this cut content is that was pulled directly from the the source files, which I was given access to by uh, by some of the higher ups at 343, and because like I have this relationship where they know my modding work, and so like they're like, okay, I can go ahead and give you a link to this drive, as part of like a not necessarily dig site, part is sort of dig projects. So yes, that is a thing. I am very lucky in that respect. What you wouldn't give to get your hands on that, yeah, I definitely feel it there, and I am living that dream, and that's why I am making the best use of it that I possibly can, because I realize how fortunate I am to be in this position, and I will do everything in my power to make good use of it. Especially because it's like some of these assets, like especially the cut content, you know, it's like if you're not going to eventually do something with that, the models will never get used in any way. Like unless, 343 decides to like for some reason put some of these vehicles in an upcoming game at one point, which is not assured, it's like they're just sitting there, doing nothing. So I'm like, man, might as well just pull them and make playable content out of them, That's kind of my reasoning for this stuff. Um, yeah, that's the reasoning behind, the people at 343 who are giving me access to this stuff too. Like they also are like, man, it'd be so cool to just have this see the light of day, and exist in some form eventually. Yeah. But that's the thing. Is it very atomized? Like, do most artists keep the files on local and only send in the final 3D low poly files? Does it work for Infinite assets? So the way it works, at least on Infinite specifically, we do have a repository. Um, and so the way it works is I get a piece of concept art from the concept art team. It is a really pretty picture of a piece of armor. And based off of that picture, I go and 3D model a high poly model and a low poly model. And so once I'm done with that, I send in both the high poly and low poly model, as well as all the files I use for texturing and texture baking and all that good stuff. I send that back into the repository to add to the repository. So yeah, that's basically the way it works. I do have to download certain things locally. Like sometimes there will be times where like somebody already did the high poly and I'm just, like we're kind of like hot potatoing it where like I'll just do the retopology and the texture baking or somebody else is just doing the texture baking so we can like kind of toggle depending on like which thing takes priority. Um, but like yeah, like every game studio has a file repository that you add to and edit and update because that's how like any project works. Yeah, if any of y'all are interested in getting into the game industry, um, y'all are gonna have to get really good at file structure organization and naming conventions because that is absolutely essential. Everything is based on naming conventions, and if you don't follow that extremely strictly, um, bad things happen. Stuff breaks, stuff gets lost. You're having to sort through hundreds of files and can't find anything. So, yeah, organization is like really, really essential. I do hope they still upload a lot of them to the models to the GitHub, like how Dixide is doing. Yeah, definitely. Like I'm sure they'll still like keep adding to it. I mean like, and that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why like my modding stuff is kind of above board is because like a lot of the models I get directly are also kind of you know uploaded to the dig site. So it's like all kind of under the same umbrella of work. And it's like yeah, so yeah, it's very similar. I don't know about sound files. I really can't speak to that because I am not a sound guy personally. Um, but I mean, I would assume so. Maybe all the Halo sound files are preserved somewhere in some form of archive, like because I mean, all the 3D stuff definitely is, and I even think the design documents are as well. So like I would imagine the audio files would be too. I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume so. Like 343 and Microsoft are pretty keen on making sure that the original stuff is preserved. Um, like all the Halo, or all the original Halo CE stuff, like, and I mean that's why Dixite was possible because even the stuff from the Macworld '99 demo was preserved, and they were able to dig it out of storage and like uh, optimize it for MCC. So it's probably there in some form or fashion. The audio stuff though, it's a little tricky because audio it gets really like murky I think, like you said, because of IP, because like whenever you're building a library of audio stuff, a lot of that audio is bought from like sound banks or like other companies will have the rights to that sound and how it gets used. And even like the original iconic Halo sounds, a lot of those were synthesized or remixed or built from existing, um, you know, audio repositories. Um, yeah, like there are plenty of like original CE sounds that were just like generic sound bites that like every game at the time was using. Um, so yeah, um, it gets tricky. Audio stuff gets very complicated. Oh, I'm remote. I'm in Texas. Yeah, so like I work fully remote. It's been an interesting experience. I definitely say I kind of prefer working in office just because I enjoy the act of, you know, going to a place to work, and I like, you know, in-person collaboration and just feeling the presence of other people. I really enjoy that. But I also will say, you know, I know so many people who are just like infinitely more productive and comfortable at home, and you know, um, I really would never want to take that away from them because they just like I've known so many people who are so much happier working from home. And like game development, honest to God, unless you're maintaining a physical server room or there is just like some dire critical need for you to be at the office, game development, almost all of it can be done remotely. Like there's really no reason for the most part why the average game developer needs to go into a physical office space. There's no like tangible pressing need for it. Um, yeah, so yeah. I also it's funny. I've had to like really adapt to work from home because like I before 343 I was on other studios and projects where I wasn't the most productive, and like I had my office in my bedroom, and so I was just too tempted to just like sleep or nap or game. But for one but for some reason when I moved my desk into like the living room, it felt like more of an office, and like I separated, you know, those two spaces and I became way more productive. I'm like, okay, I'm going somewhere to work. And when I'm in that space, I'm productive. And it's just a psychological thing. Ernesto, thank you. I've been here for about a year and a half. Yeah, I'm actually my contract is unfortunately expiring come January, so I got about like 3 more weeks at 343. Um, and it's been a great ride. But yeah, I am definitely going to be looking for, or I am currently looking for work. But yeah, but like in terms of like Halo modding stuff, like I'm still gonna, you know, keep modding Halo, and like, you know, with regards to like getting models for modeling stuff, like I don't think that's really gonna change much. It's just all gonna be through like dig site or like, you know, those kinds of servers, and file repositories as opposed to direct from 343. Thank y'all. Yeah, I it's just tough, if y'all haven't noticed, the industry is kind of going through some stuff recently, and while I'm not getting laid off, I will soon be joining the massive crowd of other game devs who have been laid off in recent months, and it's pretty freaking tough out there. It is pretty brutal right now. Um, and luckily, January and February are right around the corner, and those typically tend to be the big hiring months for the game industry when like projects get started up and are, you know, starting to onboard and like recruit. So hopefully there's not too much of a gap. But yeah, ooh, it's tough. Ernesto, yeah, I definitely feel you, and like yeah, it's early in my career that was like the majority of my career. Even today, sometimes like, I've been lucky that like in recent years it's been easier to find a job, but it's really weird because there seems to be just like dry spells, and like obviously there's different seasons for hiring, right? Um, there's just certain times of the year where like nobody's really recruiting very hard. But then there's other times of the year where I'll get like 5 job offers randomly out of nowhere. Um, Even when like I have a job and I'm good. Um, but yeah, no, it's tough. Like, but you just keep focusing on beefing up your portfolio and doing cool projects and having good stuff to show and networking. Networking is really important. Who you know is incredibly important for like getting hired in the game industry. Um, so like make friends, make contacts, get known, um, and yeah. Also recruiting agencies like I the 343 gig. I was actually approached by a recruiter who saw my LinkedIn profile and was like, "Hey, do you want a job?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Um, so yeah, that's another good good thing to have. But yeah, like don't be discouraged by like sending in hundreds of applications, getting the responses. Don't take that as like, oh well, you know it's not gonna happen, or it's discouraging, because like that's everybody. Everybody deals with that. Like you got to understand there's literally, and I'm not exaggerating, literally thousands of applications for the average game job. So it's it's a colossal amount of people applying for the same job, and like almost you know 99.99% of them get those same rejections because only one person gets the job. So it's like it is completely normal. I'm just saying this to like if it helps. It's totally normal to get all these rejections. It's not really an indicator of anything. Um, it's just, yeah, it's really saturated. Can I ask Mr. Halo to give you money? Um, sure. Yeah, let me go. I got him on speed dial. 1 second. Hello. John Halo. Can you give Abisquick money? He needs more funding for his Battlefront 2 mod. Thanks. There you go, man. I got you. I got you covered. You'll be getting a deposit into your account within the hour. No problem, man. Don't mention it. A cut Halo 3 missile launcher. I think I know what that looks like. The G4H. Huh. Wait a second. Was that also in like some Reach concept art? Um, I almost feel like this thing showed up in that one piece of concept art that the Halo Reach LMG is in. Um, but that is a really cool design. I like it. Um, shoot, maybe as like a guided uh, rocket launcher, right? Like kind of like the Half-Life rocket launcher, where you can like point and guide the missile based on your aim. That'd be cool. That's me stretching. Pretty neat. Oh. All right, I think I'm gonna have to go grab food because I'm getting pretty hungry. So I'm gonna stop the stream here. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. I enjoy just having like people in the background to chit chat with. It's really enjoyable. It's like lo-fi beats but interactive. But yeah, I will see y'all later.